Alright, well, there's the next repair. Alright, let's fix that pull string. Yeah, so spring seems good. Let's replace that rope. Looks like this is number 4 rope that came out of here, and it looks like that's about what this hole is right there. Probably number 4, 1/8 inch. So I have some number 4 pull string right here. Let's try and install it. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get a new lighter. Be right back. All right, let's try this one. Try and get this into a nice point so I can stick it through the hole easier. Yep, sure does. Alright, that works. Now I'm going to wind it up, maybe 3 times, and then stick it through. Counterclockwise. I'm going to start with the hole at the opening, wind it counterclockwise. 1, 2, 3. See how that works. I'm going to jam it with this thing. There we go. So now, stick my cord back through. Like that. And I'm gonna singe the other end so it doesn't unfray. Now I'm gonna tie it in a knot. Like that. And then pull it through. Like that. Now, the other end, so it doesn't go back in, and I can see how this works with 3 windings. Put a vice grips. Okay, like that. Now, take out this. Not quite. I think 4 winds would probably be better. Alright, that's all back together. It's all in. And by the way, this is 4 feet of string is what I used. 4 feet of number 4 string, which is 1/8. Alright. That's actually pretty nice. I think that'll work. Pull a little bit of this out. Jam this thing again. I'll put the handle on. I think that'll work just fine. I think what I'm going to do next is I'm going to lube this up just a little bit. It's already got some grease or something right here. So there's definitely something in it, which is good, but it's kind of dirty and it's you know, it's a little bit hard kind of. So I'm going to wipe some of that off. As much off as I can. Should be fine. And then I'm going to use some ATF, automatic transmission fluid that I had lying around, and I'm just going to put a few drops right in there. ATF is a pretty good lubricant. Doesn't need too much, just a little bit. And ATF is not very viscous, so once you get a little bit down in there, it'll work its way around. You know, the more you pull it, the more you use it. So I think that's good. Just something to keep it working smooth and keep the rust away. It's working pretty smooth now. All right, I think we're gonna go put this back on, and we'll give it a start. If you remember, the pull string broke when I was trying to start it after a carb clean. So this machine has never actually started for me before. So this is going to be first start. Put a little bit of gasoline in it, a little bit more. All right, throttle up. What is that? Full choke. Not bad. It will run on full choke or even half choke, but not off. Alright, so take a look at this. The engine is idling right now, and it's running fine, no choke, but then when I give it choke, it revs up like that. That tells me that we probably have an intake leak somewhere, because when I restrict the airflow like that, it should be pulling more fuel. It should be actually choking. It should start to sputter and die because there's too much choke. I started checking for intake leaks, and I believe I found one. Let me see if I can show you. I I'd say that's pretty conclusive. Don't ever try that with without a fire extinguisher handy. I actually have a bottle of water too with a hole drilled in the top so I can squirt it with water and the fire extinguisher. You're spraying carb cleaner so close to that hot exhaust that it could easily flash, and start a fire. So don't ever try that without at least one thing to put the fire out. So I ended up ordering a complete gasket set, part number 36444. That pretty much includes all the gaskets that you would need for this Tecumseh snowblower engine. As I'm taking the intake off, I actually don't see any gasket in there at all. There might be some remnants of something in there, but it's definitely not much. There's really no gasket material there. On the intake, there is no gasket at all. And on the exhaust, there is the remnants of some, looks like RTV silicone. You can see where it was leaking the carbon deposits right there. Alright, so I got the surface cleaned up on the intake manifold here, and cleaned up pretty good. What you want to do is you want to clean it up with a wire brush or carb cleaner or both and get it really nice and clean, and then you want to test it for flatness. You want to make sure that there's no bow in it. So I take a piece of steel like this. This is just a scrap sheet, 18 gauge sheet steel, and I run it across the surface and I look and see if there's light coming through. That way you can tell whether it's warped or not. And if it is, what you need to do then is either file it or sand it so that it is flat. Because if it's not flat, it's never gonna seal properly, even with the gasket. So you want to make sure of that. I made a whole bunch of these things. All I did was I took some scraps of 18 gauge sheet metal and I cut a big long strip of it on a metal shear and then just cut them to length like that. And so because I cut them on a big metal shear, I know that the surfaces are super straight and super true, and I can use them to test the flatness of things. The intake is all back together. As you can see, I got the gasket in there. I also replaced the carburetor to intake manifold or intake pipe gasket right there. And I'm about to put the exhaust on, and this is the exhaust gasket they gave me. As you can see, it's slightly off in the bolt hole. So I am going to go and modify that gasket slightly. I made an imprint with a hammer. I held it up and tapped it with the hammer. You can see the imprint there of where the bolt needs to go. So I'm going to cut that away or drill it away, and then I'll put the exhaust back on. There. That should do it. I put it all back together and I put a little bit of gas in it. And let's give it a start and see if that improves matters. But at full throttle it still hunts. I don't know whether a carb kit would bring it back or whether it would be just better to get a new carburetor altogether. Let me think about that.